The moment she slipped her arm through mine and smiled for the cameras, my heart stopped. Not because I was in love with her. Not because I expected anything to happen. But because just 3 hours earlier, she had laughed and said I was the safest fake date she could possibly find. And somehow, standing beneath the bright afternoon sun with hundreds of people watching, it no longer felt fake at all. Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and unexpected love, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone special, and subscribe to Lifeline Hub for more emotional stories that touch the heart. My name is Corbin Hale, and for most of my life, I was the kind of person people forgot was in the room. I wasn't unhappy. I had a stable job designing community parks for the city. I rented a small apartment overlooking a quiet street lined with maple trees. I spent weekends helping at local charity events and reading books at neighborhood cafes. My life was peaceful. But peaceful and lonely often look very similar. At 34, nearly everyone around me seemed to be moving forward. Friends were getting married, raising children, buying homes, building lives with someone beside them. Meanwhile, I became the reliable friend people called when they needed help moving furniture or fixing a broken fence. I was useful. Just never chosen. That was why I didn't think much of it when Sienna Mercer walked into the community center one bright Saturday afternoon. She was impossible not to notice. Not because she was beautiful, though she certainly was. It was the energy she carried. The kind that filled every corner of a room. People smiled when she spoke. Volunteers listened when she gave instructions. Children ran toward her during community events. She was sunshine in human form. I had seen her around for months. We volunteered for the same neighborhood improvement projects, though our conversations rarely lasted more than a few minutes. She knew my name. That alone felt surprising. The afternoon that changed everything began during preparations for a city fundraising gala held in a beautiful botanical garden. The event was one of the largest charity gatherings of the year. Business leaders, local officials, donors, and media representatives would all attend. Volunteers were helping decorate the venue. I was arranging flower displays when Sienna approached carrying a clipboard. She looked stressed. Her normally bright smile seemed forced. For the first time since I'd known her, she appeared vulnerable. As she checked names on her clipboard, she suddenly laughed and shook her head. Then she looked directly at me. The expression in her eyes suggested she had just thought of something ridiculous. A few moments later she walked over. What followed felt like the beginning of a joke. Because in many ways, it was. She explained that her former boyfriend had unexpectedly confirmed attendance at the gala. The relationship had ended months earlier. Painfully. Publicly. And now he would be arriving with someone new. She wasn't looking for revenge. She wasn't trying to make anyone jealous. She simply didn't want to spend the evening alone answering uncomfortable questions from people who didn't know how much the breakup had hurt. Then she looked at me and laughed. Not cruelly. Not mockingly. Just nervously. And she asked if I would be her +1. Her fake date. For one evening. A harmless favor between friends. I remember smiling and agreeing almost immediately. What I didn't tell her was that my heart had already started racing. Because even pretending to matter to someone like Sienna felt like more than I expected life to offer. The day of the gala arrived with perfect weather. The sky stretched endlessly blue above the city. Sunlight poured through the glass structures of the botanical gardens, illuminating thousands of flowers in brilliant color. Everything looked cinematic. Elegant. Almost unreal. I spent an hour deciding what tie to wear. Then another 30 minutes convincing myself not to cancel. By the time I arrived, my hands were shaking. And then I saw her. Standing near the entrance. Wearing a simple blue dress that moved gently in the afternoon breeze. For a moment, the entire crowd disappeared. She smiled when she saw me. A genuine smile. The kind reserved for people whose presence brings comfort. Something inside me shifted. I didn't know it then, but the night was already changing course. At first, everything followed the plan. We walked together. Talked together. Posed for photographs together. Whenever someone asked how long we'd been seeing each other, she answered smoothly. People believed it. The fake relationship became surprisingly easy to perform. But as the hours passed, something unexpected happened. We stopped acting. Instead of discussing made-up details about imaginary dates, we started sharing real stories. She told me about growing up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs. I told her about losing my father young and learning independence too early. She spoke about dreams she had buried after years of disappointment. I shared fears I had never spoken aloud. Somewhere between lunch tables covered in flowers and shaded garden paths filled with laughter, the performance disappeared. The masks came off. And for the first time, I saw the woman behind the smile everyone admired. She carried scars. Heartbreak. Doubts. Loneliness. The same things I carried. The realization stunned me. Because I had spent months assuming she belonged in a different world than mine. A world of confidence and certainty. But she was human. Just like me. As the afternoon continued, I noticed something else. Whenever the crowd became overwhelming, she unconsciously moved closer. Whenever conversations became awkward, her eyes searched for mine. And whenever she laughed, it felt less rehearsed than before. The connection growing between us was quiet. Subtle. Dangerous. Because it wasn't supposed to happen. The arrangement had rules. No expectations. No complications. No feelings. Yet feelings rarely ask permission. Several hours into the event, her former boyfriend finally arrived. The atmosphere changed instantly. I recognized him from photos. Tall. Confident. Polished. The type of man who seemed comfortable being admired. Beside him stood a woman who looked equally impressive. For a brief moment, I saw pain flash across Sienna's face. The kind of pain someone spends months trying to hide. Instinctively, I reached for her hand. I expected her to pull away. Instead, she held on. Tightly. Neither of us spoke. We simply stood there. Together. And somehow that was enough. As the afternoon stretched toward evening, I watched something remarkable happen. The sadness she had carried began to fade. Not because of jealousy. Not because she wanted her ex to notice. Because she was genuinely enjoying herself. She was laughing again. Not performing. Living. The difference was beautiful. Hours later, the formal presentations ended and guests drifted through the gardens illuminated by soft golden sunlight. The crowd thinned. Music played quietly in the distance. For the first time all day, we found ourselves alone near a small fountain hidden among roses. The silence felt comfortable. Neither of us seemed eager to break it. I remember looking at the reflection of sunlight dancing across the water and realizing something terrifying. I didn't want the day to end. Because when it ended, so would the illusion. Tomorrow she would return to her world. I would return to mine. And this extraordinary afternoon would become a memory. The thought hurt more than it should have. Perhaps she sensed it. Perhaps she felt it too. Because her expression changed. She looked at me differently. Not as a convenient solution. Not as a favor. As if she was seeing me clearly for the first time. And then something happened that I will remember for the rest of my life. She admitted she had been nervous when she invited me. She confessed she expected the day to feel awkward. She thought we would simply survive the event and move on. But somewhere along the way, she stopped pretending. And so had I. The words settled between us. Heavy. Honest. Real. My pulse thundered in my ears. The air seemed to stand still. For months I had convinced myself someone like Sienna could never see me the way I saw her. Yet in that moment, I realized how wrong I had been. People don't fall for perfection. They fall for understanding. For safety. For kindness. For the rare feeling of being fully seen. And somehow, against all odds, we had found that in each other. If you've ever met someone who changed your life when you least expected it, write "unexpected love" in the comments below. I'd love to know how many people believe that the best relationships often begin when we stop looking for them. The final moments of the event arrived far too quickly. Guests began leaving. Volunteers packed decorations. The beautiful afternoon slowly faded into evening. Soon there would be no reason for us to remain. No excuse. No role to play. Yet neither of us moved toward the exit. Instead, we lingered. Talking about everything and nothing. Finding reasons to stay. Delaying goodbye. Because goodbye suddenly felt far more important than either of us expected. Eventually, we reached the parking area. The sun hung low on the horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and amber. It should have been the end. The simple conclusion to a harmless favor. A funny story we'd tell friends someday. But life rarely follows the scripts we write for it. Standing there beneath the fading daylight, Sienna smiled. The same smile that had first captured my attention months earlier. Only now it carried something deeper. Something vulnerable. Something hopeful. And for the first time all day, neither of us had to pretend. The fake date had ended. The joke was over. Yet neither of us wanted to walk away. Because somewhere between shared stories, quiet moments, and unexpected honesty, two lonely people had discovered they were no longer alone. What began as a joke had transformed into something neither of us planned. Something neither of us expected. Something real. And sometimes the most beautiful chapters of life begin exactly that way. Not with certainty. Not with grand declarations. But with two people finding comfort in each other's presence and realizing they don't want it to end. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to Lifeline Hub. Your support helps bring more inspiring stories to people who need hope, comfort, and reminders that love can appear when we least expect it.